Right, it should start here in just a minute.
This meeting is being live streamed.
Perfect. And I'm gonna turn on the closed captioning as well. And I'll give you co-host here, Heidi.
Okay.
And you should be all good to go.
Okay. And I see that we have 3 attendees. So I think everybody's here. So
our applicants are here then?
correct.
Oh, all right, then let's go ahead and call this to order.
Okay.
LeGrand, almost said LeGrand again. Bend Landmarks Commission meeting for August 17, 2021 has been called to order. Roll call. I see Commissioner Figursky,
Here.
Commissioner Vora, Commissioner Stevens.
Here.
Commissioner Function, I do not see. Was there any comments or anything? Was he?
I did
Did he
not
call-
get an
call-
email or from him confirming one way or another. So maybe he's not going to attend, or maybe a little later.
Okay. Alternate Andy Coughlin, then you can go ahead and fill in for Commissioner Figursky tonight. Thank you very much for being here.
Commissioner Function.
What's that?
I believe Jerry said he was filling in for me.
No, for Commissioner Function.
Okay.
Oh, but I don't know that we need an alternate at this point. If we have three,
just to make a quorum of 3. Yeah.
Oh, no, we've got enough commissioners here.
Yeah.
Okay, we're only losing the one. All right, thank you. But Andy, we certainly do appreciate and value feedback that you have for us and your expertise in the areas. I'm sure that, I'm sorry, I skipped a line there. Is there anyone out there who would like to speak to any or make comments on any topic for this commission other than what's on the agenda? Okay. Heidi, do you see anybody, or Juan, do you see anyone out there?
Not at this time, Mr. Chair. I'm not seeing any hands.
Okay, no hands up or anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay, great. And then we'll move on then. If somebody does come online or, say, hey, I want to say something later on, go ahead and let me know, all right? And we can go ahead and double back on that. Minutes, draft minutes from May. I'm assuming that everybody has had a chance to look over the minutes from May. Are there any updates or corrections that you would like to see?
No.
No, nothing? Then I will entertain a motion.
I move we accept the minutes, draft minutes as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the draft minutes as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And or something like that. That motion carries. The minutes from May have been accepted and they are no longer draft minutes. Okay, that brings us to our proposal and our public hearing for tonight. PLHIS 20210699. Our applicant is Eric Koslow from Bend Design Group. Right. It is a property at 356 Northwest Delaware Avenue in Bend. Okay. It is, I can't see that far. A type 3 historic major alteration application for an existing single-family dwelling located at 356 Northwest Delaware Avenue. Proposed alterations include demolish the existing rear porch, 52 square feet, and associated rear stoop and stairs, 34 square feet, and construct an addition to the rear elevation, which will add 327 square feet of area to the first floor and 145 square feet to the second floor. Add new skylights on the northeast side of the roof ridge, enlarge an existing hip dormer on the west side of the roof, add a new hip dormer on the east side of the roof, extend the existing primary hip roof and north gable dormer over new rear elevation addition, remove existing at-grade rear concrete patio, and add new brick paver pathways. I think I got the right one, didn't I? Okay, so we were going to open up our public hearing. This is a de novo hearing and is an initial evidentiary hearing of application PLHIS 20210699. This application is a request for everything that I've already read. The applicant has the burden of proving that he or she is entitled to the approval sought. The applicable criteria for this application include the Bend Urban Area Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 3, and Chapter 10.20 of the Historic Preservation Code, and the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties. Testimony and evidence of this hearing must be directed toward the criteria set forth in the staff report or other criteria in the Bend General Plan or Bend Development Code that you believe is applicable, or any other criteria in the National Register of Historic Places program that any person believes apply to this decision. Failure on the part of any person to raise an issue with sufficient specificity to afford the Landmarks Commission and parties to this proceeding an opportunity to respond to the issue issued precludes appeal to the City Council or Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. Additionally, failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the Landmarks Commission to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Order presentation. The hearing will be conducted in the following order. Staff will give a report. The applicant will then have an opportunity to offer testimony and evidence. Proponents of the application will then be given a chance to testify and present evidence. When all proponents have testified, opponents to the appeal will then be given a chance to testify and present evidence. After both proponents and opponents have testified, the applicants will be allowed to present rebuttal testimony, but may not present new evidence. At the Landmarks Commission discretion, if the proponents presented new evidence on rebuttal, opponents may be recognized for a rebuttal presentation. At the conclusion of this hearing, the staff will be afforded an opportunity to make any closing comments. And at the end of staff closing comments, then the hearing will be closed. The commission may limit the time period for presentation. Applicants, I usually don't limit your time. Just make sure that everything that you do is succinct. Continuances before the close of the hearing, any person has the right to request an opportunity to present additional evidence, argument, or testimony regarding the application. If the hearing is continued or the record left open, the applicant shall also be allowed, at least after the record is closed, to all other parties to submit final written arguments, but no new evidence in support of the application. Do any of the commissioners have any expert contacts, prior hearing observations, biases, or conflicts of interest to declare? If so, please state the nature and extent of those. Any commissioners? No? Okay. Does any party wish to challenge any commissioner based on expert contacts, biases, or conflicts of interest? No? All right. Restate the close of hearing comments. We'll get to that. All right. Applicants, are you ready to present? Where are you at, Mr. Koslow?
Yes, let me,
Well, let's have Beth give her staff report first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot.
I was
all
gonna
about
say-
that. Sorry about that.
I was gonna get off easy.
Yes, you were.
Okay, so this structure is the Homer and Bertha Mayrand House. It was constructed in 1916. It's recognized as a historic contributing craftsman bungalow single-family dwelling. The specific characteristics for which this home is recognized are the hip roof, the 2-inch exposed horizontal lap siding, full width gable entry porch, a variety of divided light windows, and decorative cut rafter tails. The front porch is highlighted with stucco and decorative half timbering in the front facing gable end. The home has a prominent brick chimney on the west elevation, and this proposal does not remove or impact these features. The proposed rear addition is compatible with the building itself by means of extending the structure to the north and closely replicating the rear facade in lieu of introducing any abrupt changes that would visually change the primary massing of the building. The proposed addition lengthens the house, but strategically maintains a similar appearance to the existing structure so as to not disrupt the historic character of the home. The proposed new construction to the primary building mass is oriented to the rear of the house, minimizing any visual change to the primary facades. And the east dormer addition is oriented towards the east interior side yard, presenting little impact to the primary facades. The west dormer alteration maintains the existing historic dormer design and presents a minor change to the west facade that is strategically designed to minimize any abrupt change to the west facade. The integrity of the existing massing will be maintained, and the roof pitches and proposed architectural knee braces are in keeping with the craftsman style of the building and character of surrounding properties in the district. The applicant is proposing window openings and solids to void at proportions that are typical of the existing historic home and of craftsman style homes in the area. New windows are proposed to be a combination of French pull-in and push-out casement windows in the dormers, 1/1 single hung, 7/1 fixed window in the rear porch flanked by 3/1 single hung windows, and 1/1 double hung wood sash windows. 2 operable skylights are proposed on the east-facing main hip roof. Additional window information is provided in the window inventory submittal item, and all windows are proposed to be wood sash. Overall, based on the application materials uploaded into the city view file, PLHIS 2021-0699, between July 16th and July 21st, 2021, staff recommends Landmarks Commission approve the proposal to demolish the existing rear porch and associated rear stoop and stairs and construct an addition to the rear elevation, which will add 327 square feet of area to the first floor and 145 square feet to the second floor. Add new skylights on the northeast side of the roof ridge, enlarge an existing hip dormer on the west side of the roof, add a new hip dormer on the east side of the roof, extend the primary hip roof and north gable dormer over the new rear elevation addition, remove existing at-grade rear concrete patio and add new brick paver pathways on the structure located at 356 Northwest Delaware, subject to the conditions, the following conditions. And that is 1, that the applicant shall submit a standards details checklist to the planning division for review and approval with submittal of any building permits for the proposed building changes required by the building division and prior to any exterior remodeling. And 2, as required by the building division, the applicant must obtain all required building permits prior to any construction work.
Okay. Any questions for Beth?
Yeah, I have a
Go
couple.
ahead. Go ahead.
Beth, the skylights, are they visible from, the street or where people, the public?
No, they're not going to be visible from the street. They're facing it's a corner lot. The corners being, let's see, they're the frontages being south and west, and these are going to be on the east facing ridge of, or not ridge, the side, rear side of the hip roof. So behind the dormer towards the rear of the lot. So facing the interior of the lot.
Okay, and Heidi, in situations like that, has our precedence been, not to worry about skylights, not being historic?
That is correct, because that's been the precedence, because they could be easily removed, and if somebody reshingles the roof with shakes, you wouldn't know it's there. So it doesn't affect any of the historical structural integrity of the building.
Okay.
It's not visible. So the commission has approved them when they're not visible. And
Okay, well, thank you. And can I ask another question unrelated?
Sure, go ahead.
This would be to Beth or Heidi. And this is going to come up in our next work session whenever we have it. The Department of Interior, guidelines say the addition should look different than the main house on a historic home. Is that discernible to somebody, an architect at least, that there is a slight difference of some kind between the addition and the main home?
That's a tough one, because in some ways you do want a new addition. You want it to blend and to not be obnoxiously different than the existing structure, to the point where you look at it and say, oh, that's different, that's new. But at the same time, that's almost what the standards indicate, that it should be discernibly different,
If I might, one of the things that anyone who's looked at old buildings for a long time would see is the differentiation in foundation line. The foundations are not going to be built with stacked stone. They're not going to be built with the same concrete. There is a differentiation between the addition and the original structure, albeit it's a minor one, but it is one that is not masked usually to hide the fact that it's an addition. The dissimilar surfaces often come into play, as the Secretary of the Interior states. The guidelines say dissimilar surfaces. There gets to, I've run into it in the past where we've run standing seam metal on additions just to really make it different from the original structure. But in the part of the setting of the Old Town Historic District, or either of the districts, there's a balance that has to be met. But to be able to be discerned, you just look at the foundation, see that it's not the same as the old.
Okay. And I know the Bend Historic Code actually says they should look the same.
Yeah.
Some for our discussion point next week. I just wanted to bring that up as another example. We had one
Next month, yeah.
Next month, yeah, for a work session and a discussion.
Yeah, I don't want to push it here. I mean, I'm happy with what I see, but I was just pointing out how we get these applications and how we,
Robin, at the when we do meet on that issue, it might be something that, because there is a disparity between the two, there might be something that is a gray area that we always need to work on ourselves.
yeah, and maybe that's where we'll conclude. But yeah, anyway, just thought I'd mention that. There's another example.
And to add to Derek, from what I read, there's a possibility that the addition will have a different siding or a different look of to its siding, and that would certainly give it that sense that it is an addition. A quick question that I have a confusion, and it's probably just my age catching up to me. But when I look at the photographs of the house as it is currently, is that the way it looked in 1914 or whatever it was when it was built?
No, I don't believe so, but Eric could probably speak with more detail on that.
Okay, all righty. Because I got confused as to what I was looking at for the current house. Was it the 1914 house? Was there a major remodel or rebuild? And what was that, 1940 or something like that? And so I had some confusion there. Are there any other more comments or questions for Beth? Then Eric Costello.
So I have some. Beth, I understand that applicants come here first before they go through planning review. But just for my own edification, would a alteration like this prompt the like completion of the sidewalk, because the sidewalk ends there as shown on the
No.
Okay.
No, it shouldn't. When there's a demolition and new construction, if the square footage of what's being demolished plus the new square footage that's being proposed, if that equals, I believe it's 50% of the existing or more, then that can trigger
the
sidewalk improvements. But I don't believe this is going to trigger that.
Okay.
I haven't done those specific calculations, but just eyeballing it. And I'm pretty sure Eric probably thought that through already.
Okay.
Okay. All right. No other questions for Beth? Mr. Costello, you're on. Eric Costello, you there?
I'm here. Sorry. I thought somebody else was going to unmute me. I thought I was unmuted. I'm trying to enable my video too.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Sorry about that.
We see you now.
Yes.
Eric, can you unmute your speaker?
I believe I'm unmuted right now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Heidi,
We
can
seem
you
to
not?
be getting we seem to be getting feedback.
There you go.
Okay, how is it shaping up now? Is the audio
Sounds good, Eric.
Okay.
perfect? Thank you, everybody, for being here, to the commissioners and Heidi and Beth. Beth, in particular, just all the effort you put in, assisting me navigating this project and bringing it to this point. And also you, Heidi, for the email correspondence that we had. You know, you were really helpful in pointing out some Sanborn maps that had a lot of relevance to what we're doing here. So I very much appreciate your guys' help. And I guess without further ado, my name is Eric Koslow. I think you all know me now. Ben Design Group is my business. Michael Pisani and Hannah Turner, the owners of the property, engaged me probably November or something around the end of the year last year. And I came over and saw their home, which I actually had been inside before. I had family that rented that. It's been a vacation rental over the years. And so I had family from out of town renting that house, had, I think, Thanksgiving or something there. So I had a little familiarity with it. And I also owned a house directly across the street on Delaware, 337 Northwest Delaware. So I definitely have seen this house for a very long time, lived in the historic district for a long time, noticed that this house is definitely unique, even among the homes on Delaware. So I think Delaware has a lot of very unique, significant homes for the district. And this little block, the transition from the 300 block to the 400 block, in that whole stretch, there's a lot of unique, significant features on some of the homes. And this one being a Craftsman, the hip style roof is the first most obvious thing that stands out. And that west dormer and the prominent brick chimney, if you look at the images provided on the drawings, on the A0 sheets, there's existing images of existing conditions, and then there's a rendering of the existing condition with the demolition proposed, and then there's the proposed improvements. So those sheets outline visually what our intent is, what kind of the scope is on the exterior of the building. Just to back up, so a little bit more history on my involvement. When I did visit the site, it was kind of an open discussion of what can we do with this space. They had a couple items in mind, a couple goals that they wanted to achieve with, which was related to more usable living space. So the attic space has been used as living space for quite some time. I think always had been. And it's very limited on head height. It's a very tight space. So it needs some improvement if they're going to use it more efficiently for like a bedroom use. There's no egress up there. So we looked at first, how can we improve this upstairs space and make use of it? And some obvious solutions when you're looking at other types of projects is, well, why don't we put a dormer in, lift the roof here, do an addition? We, being in the historic district, are mindful of how this is going to go through review, and also mindful of just preserving the historical character of the home. So we were able to direct all our efforts for that goal in the right direction, I believe. And that's what's presented to you today, which is to not increase the ridge height at all, to basically preserve the appearance of the home as it's currently seen, as it was historically seen. And I will, as a side note, back up and kind of hit on a couple things that you guys were discussing prior to me speaking, just the new addition and how it ties into the existing and what the code says about that. So I will speak about that. And I guess moving back into the scope of improvements. So that was one of the things that we needed was that second story or 1.5 story attic living space. And it really needs to be converted into more of a bedroom for how they use this house and their young family. And, you know, we'll likely have kids here in the future, and the downstairs space, if you know Michael and Hannah, they're very industrious. So the entire house is filled with candles and different things that they make. So Hannah runs a candle business along with, I think, 2 other things. She's a professional photographer and works for G5. And then Michael is working at home on his computer, and they can kind of give you a little more background on who they are and what they do. But they definitely need a little more space in this house. And so the upstairs was the first obvious one because that's existing space that's underutilized. The second thing was just downstairs, really needing to increase the size of the kitchen a little bit to make it more functional where they could have interaction with each other. Right now, it's you just stand in the kitchen, you cook, you bring your food out to the dining area, and it's a very compartmentalized, very kind of classic compartmentalized layout in the house. I think it's a historic, you know, closely to the historic layout. And there's a lot of things that we want to preserve even inside the house. Just the detail that is found outside the house can also be found inside the house with a lot of the trim and cased openings and things that are fairly unique, and they have every intention of kind of preserving the whole character of the home. So this has been an exciting project, just given the intent of preservation that they're willing to you know, move forward with exploring concepts with. And so I think we have a very strong proposal argument for the improvements that we're presenting here. And I guess just stepping into the content of what we provided, the burden of proof kind of outlines that best. It gives a table of contents for itself, and then also directly after that, there's the exhibits section, which lists the items provided. So we've provided all the things required, the drawings, the images of the existing conditions are found on the drawings primarily. They're also referenced in the detailed checklist. So there's a detailed checklist which covers more specific items like the siding, the foundation, so that you would want to reference for some of the images and intent there if you want some specific info. And I guess moving along into the proposal here. So as Beth said, we're doing a ground level addition off the rear of the house. This provides a little more room for the kitchen. We also gain the functionality of a real mud area, which is a huge benefit to them, especially coming in out of the snow, having a place to just put all their stuff before they walk through the house. There's a second door. So there's 2 back porches, which you'll notice there, and I'm sure that will come up. And the second back porch was implemented on the northeast corner. So it's mostly kind of hidden from view. You wouldn't see it unless you were kind of in the alleyway. At the entrance of the alleyway, you could look back and see it. There is a fence there too. So it's not entirely visible from the street, although partially. And we've just borrowed the design from the west back porch, which has its historical precedence, as outlined in the burden of proof. And so we're just kind of using what I would call symmetry with a lot of these improvements. So that's one example, and that's one new element that's being introduced. But the reason for that is just the flow that Michael and Hannah currently have from their back door. They're always cutting around to that east side of the yard, and they have garbage back there. They have a lot of things back there in the side yard. They have a large side yard. It's about 9 feet wide or 9.5 feet wide, and so there's a lot that they access over there with storage of bikes and kayaks and different things, and so that's the reason for implementing that. It's just a very functional improvement. And then the enclosed back porch was slightly widened, and that's providing equal distance on either side of it, but maintaining that very original appearance of it that you can see in the existing conditions photos found on those A0 sheets. And then also later in the burden of proof, we'll kind of hit on some of the historic images. I may actually change from just speaking here and bring up some of the drawings. Is that okay if I do that? I'm going to share.
All right, Eric, go ahead and take a look at the ones that and show us what you think is the most important that you want to show us.
Okay. Yeah, I'll kind of cut to the chase. I know timeline is important. So this sheet right here, A02, this is the most prominent view of the home. So if you're leaving Market of Choice and going down Chamberlain, intersecting Delaware, this is the home that you see off to your right. And our intent here is to truly preserve as much as possible what it currently looks like, what it historically looked like. And the question came up, what did it historically look like? And I provided those images. I'm going to jump over to the burden of proof real quick. And then I'm going to, let's see, jump down to the oldest found photographs. So can you see my screen?
I see the screen.
Oh, resume share.
You see A0.2.
Okay, I'm not sure why I did that.
There it is. A0.2 is what we have.
So I thought I was sharing, I wasn't sharing. Okay. Yeah, so I'm trying to move down to the oldest found photographs. So that's what I want to show you. This is what the front porch once looked like. This home has a wealth.
We can't see, we don't see anything, Eric.
Okay, let me switch my new share. Oh, I got you. I'm only working on one screen. I worked on multiple screens the last meeting. I thought that was the problem when I was sharing, but I guess it's just Zoom. I have to change.
There we go. Now I
document.
Now we can see it.
Now we can see.
Apologize for the technical issues here. So the home has like a wealth of historical photographs, which is unique, and was kind of exciting to work on this project because there's so much available on it. So these are ordered as I found them to be, the oldest to the most recent. And so that's how these are ordered in this document. So this one appears to be the oldest, and there's some consideration in some of them. There may be an error in how I did it in a few spots, but for the most part, it's pretty accurate. And so the front porch was once, opened up. It's since been enclosed.
Mm-hmm.
There's also concrete base here to the stairs and a concrete top. So that was something that we're using for the improvements on the back porch, kind of a mix between concrete and wood. This is a view on the porch. Obviously, they had a lot of pride in this house, living there, having people come over or I don't know who all these people are, but they were using the house. And that's Michael and Hannah's intent here is to be able to use this house, entertain people, and have a family there. And so it's an exciting little project. The front gable here was historically stucco and has these little dental elements here above the openings in the porch, and then this I don't know the correct term. I go back and forth on this, but sticking, I guess, in this wood sticking in the stucco. So that's a very unique feature. There's also the implementation of this lattice under deck screening, something that I've noticed. There's a lot of unique elements. This house has so many different things on it. The lap siding is mostly intact. So there's many things on this home that remain intact and look as they did back when it was built, really. From a general standpoint, colors may have changed, different things, but this whole appearance is still there, even though the porch has been enclosed. I appreciate you guys for reading the burden of proof. Whoever has kind of skimmed through it, takes a lot of time to kind of outline everything. There's a lot of details that I bring up, but for the sake of time, I won't go into them all, but there were quite a few improvements on this home over the years, and it's sustained its original historic character. So we appreciate that, and we want to also do that with this improvement. This is, showing that the brick chimney, that's a historic feature. You got the west dormer, hip dormer, historic feature. And then as you move through these, you'll notice that the stairs here, actually, let me go back up. The stairs in this picture, old picture here, and they've already been changed to a wood railings. So they were doing renovations way back then. So we're using kind of a mix of wood railing and then concrete base for our proposal on the back porches. And then this is a more contemporary photo, which shows, okay, now the railing is sloped with the stairs, which is more in line kind of with our codes today. So we would have our handrail on there, and that's what we're also proposing, something similar to this. So these are, I think, important just to look at, and then look at the improvements that we're proposing. So I'm going to, in a moment, jump over to the drawings again. I guess since we're right here, some of the precedents that we're finding, this is the historic Sanborn fire maps, just kind of a history of the home. You can see that it hasn't been altered all that much. See, I want to find the precedents. So this is going into page 12 of the burden of proof provides our precedents for the alteration. And some of those precedents come from the Sanborn maps from early renovations done on that same block. And you can see that this one on the right side, we're looking at a home just down the block to the east, which had a rear addition. And that rear addition occurred where it was flush. The outside wall was flush. This, I believe, was a cascading gable, just out of knowing kind of architecture and what this stepped in roof line would have been. A little side note there. So this just kind of gives some precedents. I provide more precedents in here for the alteration, and a lot of those precedents are to do with symmetry. And so that's the main, I guess you asked me to say the main thing. That's been our main thread through this whole design the design process is just to kind of utilize the symmetry. The house has this hip dormer roof, so it's already symmetrical on either end. I'm going to jump back to the drawings here. And find a view. So this is kind of the back porch. You can see this image in the top left. That's a rendering of existing conditions, kind of outlining the items to be demolished. And then to the right, you have that existing conditions photo. So there's this dormer, or I'm sorry, there's a hip roof symmetry to the home. And then the dormer, the west dormer is kind of centered on that little off center, but sort of centered on the existing mass. And then you also have a lot of symmetry with the front facade, just a centered door, centered gable. So kind of driving it home, I'm over speaking here, sorry. But that's been our main thing. And I think we're achieving that by lengthening the home as opposed to offsetting the foundation. So that code section that was mentioned early in the meeting while you guys were initially deliberating is found on the burden of proof on page 34. And that's concerning new additions. So this is page 34, item 9. New additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect, to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment. And then point 10, new additions and adjacent or related new construction shall be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired. So to specifically hit on that, because I think it's important, if you removed the addition that we're proposing, you would have the existing historic wall in place. There'd be a little patch in that would need to be done where we're putting some interior openings, but that wall remains. The roof would also remain. So the hip roof is being overframed, and you can kind of see that in these images here that show that if I zoom in, we're kind of maintaining the structure itself, and then we're going to be framing over top of it. And so if that whole if the whole addition was removed, you could get back to what it historically was. If you look at the historic narrative, the rear gable, I do not believe was a historic feature of the home, but just given when it was built and its existence at this point, we're kind of accepting it as a change that's been made that is significant and that we're considering as a significant feature of the home at this point, and we're utilizing it with the extension of it over this rear addition. So this image, you can also kind of see the symmetry that we're maintaining. We're maintaining symmetry with the implementation of that east dormer, which allows for the room for a bathroom, the space for a bathroom. And then looking at what's demoed here, sorry, I'm trying to zoom in and need the hand deal there. Let me move this. So you can see in the demolition, there really isn't a lot being demoed from what can be seen from Chamberlain Avenue or Delaware Avenue. And, this gable dormer, like I just mentioned, that's kind of a newer addition. But the rear porch is really what we're demolishing, and then we're extending the home so that it really does maintain that look that it currently has. So this is kind of a east view. So that's what the house looks like right now. The rendering is a little bit better to look at than the photos in this case, because there's so much vegetation around there. It's hard to see the whole east facade. And then you can see that we're just lengthening that. We're implementing a couple windows, and then the skylights that we're putting in, you can see that they're kind of hidden behind the dormer there. And in some of the other views, sorry, my computer is kind of freezing up. I don't know what.
Yeah, we've still got you, Eric.
Okay. Well, while this is frozen up, so that's, I'm kind of rambling on some of this stuff. There's so much to talk about. There's so much detail put into this, and every little area that we looked at, you know, the texture on the foundation. So if you look at the texture of the foundation, I'm going to share that page. So this is the historic resource detail checklist. And I kind of step through different elements. So the foundation, exposure, and material. We have an elevated foundation. We have about almost 3 feet. I think it's 2 foot. It's 2 foot 4.5 average exposure. And it has a textured finish. And if you look at it, it looks like concrete block. But if you're inside the basement, it's completely concrete. And if you examine it up front, up close, you can see that there's this texture applied to the whole foundation, which is really unique. And they have little lines, little grout lines, where they've kind of made it look like block, but it's actually just concrete. So this has been proposed to be re-implemented on the foundation of the rear addition. You know, talking about similarity or dissimilarity of materials for a new addition on a historic home. You know, we're open to making this more visibly different than what's existing to show that, yes, this is an addition. I think the beauty of this proposal is that we're really maintaining the appearance of the home by making the walls flush with the existing exterior walls, and that symmetry really just works with this project in particular. I wouldn't necessarily do it with every project, but this project, it really is the solution. And you know, one thing that would kind of differentiate that, I guess, if the commissioners wanted to see it, we could make the foundation a plain foundation. We would paint it black so that it's not so abrupt of a change, but that's the way the existing porch, back porch is right now. You can kind of see it in this image off to the left. This is plain concrete painted black. And then you have your textured concrete. So that is something that we would definitely be open to if that's a suggestion. Otherwise, it's been presented as textured, kind of per the development code as I read it. And then there's some other unique elements just with the siding and these little trim bands that we have. And so we're re-implementing all that on the new addition. The dormers are kind of out, or have been made a little more contemporary. The siding on the dormers, the windows, the window trim on the dormers are newer. I'm trying to find the image in here. I guess I don't do a new share. So this is the window inventory narrative. There's some images in here of the dormer windows. this is an informative document to go through just to get kind of up close pictures of some of these things. So this is, you know, the north dormer. This is a newer construction. You know, they have the same siding type, the same exposure, the same rafter cut, all of that. But some of the, you know, the window trim is this brick mold, which does not match the historic trim. So we're going to improve these dormers with actual trim that's more in line with what the historic windows are, which is what image we're looking at right here. That's what a lot of the windows look like. There's a lot of different sets of windows. We have pairs of windows. We have sets of windows. We have individual windows. We have French, or actually push-out casement windows. Sorry, stumbling there a little bit. We have push-out casement windows. We have single hung or double hung windows, picture windows, fixed windows. There's multiple different light styles, but the divided lights are on all the windows on the lower level. There's basement windows, which also have divided lights. One of them is without divided lights, but I think that was a replacement. And so we're kind of re-implementing a lot of these little historic elements in what we're proposing. I guess that's probably all I need to say at this point. So I'm going to hand it over to Hannah and Michael just to introduce themselves, and then if I could just have the contractor talk for a moment. So I'm going to exit out of here.
Okay.
Stop sharing. Mute mine, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, Hannah, are you there?
I am getting there.
So let me,
Oops. That's a lot of feedback. There you go.
if you look up there, you have
We're not getting you through here. Are you guys together, Eric?
Oh. They're in the same room here.
Yeah, Hannah, why don't you guys just use Eric's setup?
They're just in the same room with me. They're going to jump over on my computer.
There you go. Works for me. How you doing tonight?
Much easier.
Good. How you guys doing? Thank you so much for taking time this evening to go through our project. We really appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, so a little bit about
Good.
us. Oh, go ahead. I'll just keep talking then.
Yeah, we'll just give you some background on us.
Yeah.
Go
So
ahead,
first of
Hannah.
all, we wanted to thank Beth and Heidi for that very comprehensive document. It seems like it probably took 500 hours, so appreciate it. I am actually unique these days to Bend as I'm actually from Bend, and I actually grew up in this house. We moved from Tumalo, from a farm, to downtown Bend when I was 13, and I bought this house from my mom shortly after my dad passed away. Sorry, I'm crying. So this is a really important home to me, and I love the history of the home. So essentially, we're just, trying to preserve the home and everything that's great about it while adding some extensions and a little bit of space.
Yeah, just to augment what my wife is saying, really, the ultimate purpose of the project, really for us, just so you guys have a sense, and I think Eric touched on it a little bit before, is we see ourselves living in this house forever and building our family here in this house, and really we just want some extra space to do that. It's not sufficient enough to have 2-3 kids in there, and that's really ultimately our goal. We love Bend. we love living where we do now, and we love to stay there. And so that really was the driver behind it. As you can tell, this is a really important house to our family. And, you know, when we hired Eric, we really felt strongly that he was the right choice for us because he would respect the historical nature of the home and really do it justice the way it needs to. And you know, we feel very strongly about that as well. So that's basically it.
That's good.
There you go. Hey, thank you very much for that. Eric, were you going to go ahead and?
I want to introduce Dave Rink, the contractor, since he's here, and I think there's some bearing that you know, for this project, just to hear from the contractor, since
okay,
it's a lot of details. So I'm gonna give him the chair here.
All right. Hi, Dave. How you doing?
Good. Hello. For those who don't know me, my name is David Rink. I own with my wife, DE Rink Construction. We have been building Central Oregon since 1979. We have built over 1,400 projects since I started, probably many more that I might have forgot about. And I have worked on different historic buildings. I worked on the Hugh O'Kane's personal home at the corner of Broadway and Louisiana. And we rebuilt all those windows, which they had over 354 panes. They were all taken out, taken to a shop, new aluminum and the brass tracks. All the weights were recovered, of course, new ropes, oiled the pulleys, and the windows actually worked better than new windows. Although they cost about $150,000 to rebuild those windows on that building, but that project turned out really nice. The other one I've worked on is the August Nelson building downtown. I worked with Marshall Ricker, architect, AIA. It was a pretty extensive remodel on that one from the Bond Street all the way to the alley. The other project I did was the J.H. Bean building downtown, which borders the breezeway to the south. I did that with Rick Wright and Wynn Francis. And at the same time, I was the one that expanded the breezeway from a little 4-foot wide, very scary, dark breezeway to the big, nice 8-foot wide breezeway it is today. And on the Hugh O'Kane building, we ran into a conflict because they wanted to use the upstairs as a deck. And they were all trying to design a door to go out there, and there was never a door there. And so I'm the one that came up with the idea to put a window in that opens like a door, but you don't see it like a door. And that was done by Alex Boschel, master carpenter. And you know, I may use him on this project because he's still available. I don't know if anybody knows him. He's Dutch, and he's one of the premier master carpenters left still working in town. So with that, I really have no other comments to make except that I'm very excited about working on this project. And I feel like it's something that fits my experience very well. We have a medium-sized office. My wife and I work in the office. I have a senior project manager, Logan Williams, that developed the letter. And I have a site supervisor, Mark Cardot's been with me for 23 years. And we're well versed at how to run crews. I actually still work, but not as much as the labor force, but we do go out there and see the site and supervise the workers so that whatever is going on out there, it's what's supposed to happen. And we very rarely have any excuses on why something may have been removed that wasn't. So,
okay, thank you very much. Commissioners, thank you very much for sitting through and listening to the presentations. Questions for Eric or anybody else, any of the other applicants? No questions.
So, Eric, yes. At the roof transition from the existing roof to the new addition in the rear, I think your renderings, they show a line, which might just be a remnant of, SketchUp or whatever you use to render this. Is there going to be any distinction at roof line between, or is the roof going to be continuous?
It will be continuous, and the siding would be continuous as well. So that line that you see, which I could share my screen again if needed. That line is just a graphical thing that kind of helps, see what the addition is. And then it's also something I can't get rid of. If I wanted to get rid of it, it's the problem in the software.
And just help me out. I think that we have symmetric dormers and on side dormers. They both show 2 double hung windows with 2 larger windows. And are those casement windows in the center?
Yeah. So the center windows, and I'm just sharing my screen. I think. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we got it.
Get to go all the way down to the window details. Okay, so here's the window detail sheet, A8.2. It's at the very end of the set. And your windows that you're talking about are up in this left-hand corner. And so what we have is 2 single hungs, and then the center units are actually custom. So they're custom on the hip dormers because they need to be in swing, and I currently have not found a French in swing window, and so there's a lot of push out casement windows, and what we need in this case is an in swing. And so these will be custom made. Dave will, coordinate how to most effectively do that, whether with the assistance from a manufacturer or just kind of a custom built element. And then they'll be, flanked with the single hung windows. One of the things, if I could just say one more element here, or one more thing that's important about the dormers, the existing dormer has a particular wall to void ratio where the windows, the existing window on that west dormer really kind of maxes out the wall. And that's something that we're trying to implement with these windows as well. And that's why we're ending up with a couple more windows than what currently exists, but it maintains that wall to void ratio, which I think is very important. And you can kind of see it all around the house, on the front facade and on the rear facade, with how the windows kind of fill the wall spaces. We're also doing that on the north dormer.
Okay. Other questions in for Eric? Andy, another one?
I have one.
Jim, you got it.
Yeah, just a quick question. It goes sort of to the question about differentiating between the addition and the existing, particularly in the back where the porch is being added. I'm just asking a question for clarification. I'm assuming there's a joint between the 2 foundations, existing and new. Is that a cold or joint or expansion joint?
So that would be we're actually going to dowel in rebar. This is kind of a standard process when you are joining a new foundation to an existing foundation. We'll have some rebar slotted into the existing foundation that is extended into the pour of the new foundation, and that protects it from settling. So we don't want any differential settling, and so there won't There will be a cold joint there, yes, but there won't be any specific joint
Thank you.
material between it.
Yeah, I guess my point was that joint in and of itself may be a point of differentiation between old and new.
Correct.
For someone looking at construction and looking to see what was added, the fact that there's a joint at that point that probably doesn't appear in the rest of the foundation anywhere else would be an indication that something was added on.
Correct.
So, thank you.
Other questions for Eric then? I've got one quick one for you, Eric. The siding, are you going to pull off the existing siding, save it, and then use as much of it as you can on the addition? How much of it? How much of the addition is going to be new cedar siding, and how are you going to do that?
So the way I verbalize it in the burden proof and elsewhere is that we're going to do it to the most practical extent possible. So we're looking at this practically. We're also looking at it with the true intent of reusing the siding as we can. You know, when you get into demolition of some of these or removal of some of these elements, you may, you know, discover that a lot of it is cracking. You know, maybe we're using 50% of it, maybe 60% of it, maybe 30% of it. I honestly couldn't sit here and answer that question with the exact percentage that's going to be reused, but the intent is to reuse it as much as possible. What cannot be reused is replaced with siding that's identical to it. So we've sourced that. It's available through all the lumber stores. And cut sheet was provided also with the.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Eric?
Yeah, two more. Just since we're on the siding topic, would you just leave a vertical joint at the transition from old to new siding, or would you like try to leaf it in or something?
Yeah, we want to leaf it in because I don't think that. I mean, we could join it, but Dave is here telling me we're definitely leaving it in. So it's going to be, you know, a section removed on the area that's not being affected other than needing to tie the siding in. And we'll try to tie all the siding in so you have a nice seamless look there. That's the intent. That's what we would prefer to do.
Okay. And related to the window N1, that is a historic window that you are preserving. I believe that's the only window kind of affected by demolition that you are relocating. That's historic. It seems pretty clear that the other windows that are being demoed are not historic. They're either, you know, kind of modern double pane or like aluminum, you know, maybe 30, 40 years old. So this window is moving from, sorry, it's hard to see it all. There's so many documents, but this window is moving from the, is it moving from the east facade to the south facade?
So it's moving from the back. It remains on the south, or sorry, the north facade. So the rear of the house, it's on the rear.
Yeah, sorry, the north facade, yeah.
And it's moving from the east side to the west side. And the reason for that is to make it more visible, honestly. Like it's a historic window. You know, we can use this window. And so putting that window on the west facade, if you look at some of the photos of the existing rear facade, you'll notice that there isn't a window in that location currently, but it would be really advantageous to have that just functionally for natural light, window from two sides. So that's kind of the thought process there. We couldn't leave it in the same location because of the alterations that we're making. So I wanted to reuse that window somewhere, and that was a good spot for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No more questions from me.
Okay, super duper. Anybody else? Questions for Eric? Okay, then.
Jerry, can I say one last thing? I should have said this earlier. Since last week, I did receive 3 additional letters in support public comments in support of the proposal, as well as the letter from the project manager, Logan Williams.
And
in
those,
support.
again, I didn't hear the letters that you received that were not in our packet, then we're
Correct.
support. Okay.
Right, they're in the City View project file under
Oh, okay.
documents and images, but they didn't come in time to be incorporated into the written report.
Okay, thank you very much.
They were all in support.
Any other questions then for Beth? Maybe a quick one, and for the rest of the commissioners. Casement windows, how often do we approve casement windows? Frequently?
Yeah.
I would say
Anybody?
frequently.
Seems
Yeah,
like we
do we?
do it frequently.
Yeah, I would say frequently.
Okay, all right, I just.
What- So Eric, I think I'm sorry, Jerry, I interrupted you.
Go ahead, Andy.
Regarding the casement window, we have an in-swing French window
Mhm.
that doesn't allow for a crank. Can you just describe what you envision the hardware on that to be, or what maybe visual impact?
This is kind of a new element for me to get into doing a custom window like this. I am actually working on a historic project right now where we disassembled the windows essentially and had to reframe the jambs. So we've reframed all the jambs on the window. This is 354 Northwest Georgia Avenue. It's a basement ADU. And I was just over there today working with the guys on this. And so I know that, we can achieve the whole construction of it. The hardware itself, I think, that's Dave's realm of expertise, and he's going to have to figure that out with maybe the window manufacturer, Alex, the master craftsman that he mentioned. I couldn't tell you exactly what it looks like, but
so yeah, my concern is really the center gasket. As you know, an outswing window would normally have a piece of trim that kind of covers the center gasket. You're going to have no center mullion, so the waterproofing. I don't know if there's just a visual of just gasket material on that center where they come together.
Yeah, I understand kind of what you're asking. To some extent, I have a set of French outswing windows from the same manufacturer that were from Sierra Pacific who we'd like to use for the rest of the windows here, and the windows flanking these custom windows. So that French outswing window, it completely opens up without any center mullion. It appears to have a center mullion because one of the piece has a little trim element. As you're describing it, you're wanting some surety of a gasket there.
I guess the visual, I'm not sure how they operate or how they can appear, if there's a trim piece that kind of covers the gasket material, or if you just see gasket material coming against each other on that center joint.
It would be a piece of trim. I'd make sure it's a piece of trim. I think Dave's nodding.
Okay.
It would be
that's compatible with an in-swing window.
Yeah, we would want anything from the exterior to be wood.
Okay.
And look kind of historic.
Thank you.
Okay, so once again, there would be no hardware visible from the outside of the house. Is that right, Eric?
Could you say that one more time? I'm
There
sorry.
would be no hardware visible from the outside of the house.
No hardware visible from the outside of the house. Correct.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions for Beth? Okay, then the public hearing is closed. All right. Commissioners, we're running a little bit out of time.
I would ask if there's anybody else in the virtual room that might want to
I
be for or
forgot
against.
Is there anybody else in the room in the area that wants to speak in favor of the project? Okay, Juan, anybody? No one?
We do have, I believe, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
we have Brendan Smith. And Brendan, I'm going to provide you the ability to unmute yourself. Please proceed with your first name, last name, and your address for the record. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name's Brendan Smythe, and I'm here with my wife, Sarah Gerard. We live at 216 Northwest Lava Road, just a block down from the applicants. And we just like to say that we're in favor of the project.
We love it.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Anybody else who would like to speak in favor of the project? Anyone else out there in favor of the project?
I am not seeing any other hands, Mr. Chair.
Is there anyone out there who would like to speak against the project?
No, sir.
Thank you very much, Juan. All right, now I will close the public hearing. I jumped the gun there a little bit. Okay, commissioners, we have been running over and everything like that. If you have comments that you would like to make about this project before I entertain a motion, please feel free to make them now. Let's see if we can hold them into just a couple of minutes or just some simpler ideas for me. Anybody?
I like it.
Comments. Anybody?
The only comment, I don't think that our code has anything that would mandate any specific articulation from a from a historic main structure to an addition. Others have noted that the foundation is there. I am just going to note that I don't see anything in our historic code that would require it to step in or jog in order to maintain like the existing hip. So I noting that I don't have any problem with the addition.
Mhm.
I did a little Googling on in-swing cut casement windows, and I am satisfied by what the outside visual appearance can be also.
Okay. Oh, Andy, let me follow up with that for just a second. That was a concern of mine when I saw the word casement and casement windows up there, because you got a historic home and everything's double hung and everything, and that casement comes out. So there would be no problem visually from the outside in your estimate?
I think the outside appearance is going to be essentially identical to two picture windows.
Mhm.
And the middle joint, I'm satisfied that that there is with the talented people working on this project is going to be a nice visual middle joint that does not glare, does not say that it's modern, or it will be a detail that matches existing.
Okay. All right.
So Andy, can I ask clarification? Are you saying you want the middle joint or not? And I'll also preface that with saying that when I owned a 1920s Craftsman in Astoria, I had a breakfast nook window that was a casement window without a middle joint, and an attic hip dormer casement window that did have a middle joint. So I don't think that a casement window is necessarily modern. They can occur on older homes. So I guess just for clarification, at this point, for those dormer windows, are you saying you want the middle joint, or you don't need the middle joint?
So I think when we call it French, there is going to be a middle joint, right? A joint of some sort, but with a trim piece covering it, or something that doesn't look like rubber gasket material from the middle joint, I think is yeah, I think it's very doable and I don't want the appearance of rubber on the middle, unless we can show that that is historic or common. You got to weather seal this, so it has to have some sort of gasket, but I think typically the gasket is somewhat hidden through the magic of millwork.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. All right. Other comments from other commissioners?
A couple of things, actually. If I may, according to the plans, there's a jam element between the two stashes on those upper casements, so that it's not going to be rubber, window to window. There is a jam element, second to that, in-swing casements have been used back through Tudor England. I mean, we're talking hundreds of years. So it was necessitated by the fact that you had shutters on the outside that you closed and windows inside you closed. So historic precedent does exist for a few hundred years on the casements. Casements themselves in the historic districts, there are hundreds of examples throughout the district where casements have been used in the porches, mudrooms, side laundry rooms, kitchens. So there's quite a few examples of casements. And there are many ways to trim an in-swing casement so that you don't have any issue with weather coming in. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Anything else? Jim, did you see the landscaping that's going to get changed at all? I didn't.
Yeah, I looked at that. The only note I saw on the plans was basically that I think lawn and trees and shrubs, it looks like most would be remaining. And there was a comment that in the note that shrubs would be added. It didn't say what shrubs. I mean, historically, I mean, often people who came here brought their plants from wherever they were or looked for that type. I would expect to see things like hydrangea, roses, ferns, in terms of foundation plantings and perennials, those would be typical. There's a great book I always recommend to people who are looking for historic landscape information. It's called Reading the Landscape of America by May Tilgard Watts. And it's a great read in itself. And it just, she talks about the evolution of landscape gardening in America. And basically, here in Bend, I think a lot of people would have looked for things that there might have been a mix of some of the easier natives to propagate, and then just lawn and open space, as evidenced by the historic photos that were shown earlier. So
okay, all right, good.
I think I just compliment the applicants on a fairly clear, direct, straightforward, and thoughtful, comprehensive application.
Thank you very much. Next time I'll prepare the presentation a little bit better. Ramble on.
Then any other comments by commissioners? Then if there are none other, go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, just in relation to the landscape, it seems that the only impact to the public right of way, I think, is some brick pavers that go through it's the west side of the building, or the west side of the property, to the street, to kind of access parking or the street. I don't think it is a historic topic, but I would like to lobby somebody, either the owners of the property or the city, to finish the sidewalk from the corner of the property to the curb, which seems to be the only kind of non-ADA, non-paved area of that sidewalk throughout most of the for many blocks on Delaware. It seems like an opportunity that that sidewalk continuity could be maintained with a small amount of work.
It may be something that the owners might want to consider, particularly for their kids. I'm not sure about the ages, but cycling up and down the sidewalk, skateboarding, whatever, making connections might, for a relatively low amount, given the overall cost of the remodel, it might be well worth it.
Right.
Great.
Michael is saying thank you. Good. So,
Okay.
obviously a little like, hey, hold on here, but yeah, they're receiving your comments.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
He determined how how it all works out.
All right. And then if there are no other comments from commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I move that we accept as proposed with conditions shown in staff report.
Conditions shown in the staff report. Those the two conditions that are pretty standard for us.
Exactly.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded to accept the proposal as the project is proposed to us with the two conditions as stated in the staff report. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Just to add my 2 cents, Eric, I thought the proposal and the written part and everything that you put in front of us was certainly very complete.
Yes.
And I think what you've put together is really a nice project. And I think it's going to fit that district, and it's going to really make the house usable from here on into the future.
Thank you very much, Jerome. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Derek, Robin, Heidi, Andy, Beth. Very much appreciated. And
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. That takes care of that. Let's see. Where's my agenda? That was our only proposal on the agenda. Communications report from staff.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that I sent out an email late last week for potential ongoing education opportunity for next week. We have some grant funds that we were awarded by the state. So if you're even interested in a little bit of it, it's not an expensive training. I could sign us up. If you're interested, just give me an email. And I think Beth and I are both going to take that, and then we can pass on. I'm assuming they'll give us recorded versions of the online meetings, and so we can pass them on to everybody as well. We'll look at later if that works as well.
Okay, and Heidi, again, that was the 24th and 25th of this month,
I
right?
believe so. Yeah.
Okay, and I am signed up for that, but I won't be able to view on those 2 days, so I'll catch up with it
Catch it later.
later on,
Okay.
because it's going to be recorded on YouTube or something like that.
I'm just going to contact, if you let me know in the next day or two, by the end of the week, I will contact the organization and let them know how many people are interested in signing up and use our grant money for that. And then whatever, I'm guessing that we'll get links after the sessions, and I can forward those on.
Okay, super duper. Anything else from commissioners for good of the order?
Heidi, was that the NAPC?
Yes.
What? Okay, thank you.
I believe so. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I would like to thank all of you for attending tonight. And Robin, you look like you're ready to drive away somewhere. I've never seen an office with headrests like that.
Yeah, it's a nice little office, huh? Little quiet spot here.
Must be cozy, huh? That's the
Yeah.
only quiet spot you could find, huh?
With Wi-Fi. And also, yeah, there's a little floodlight putting a light on me in case the cops want to come by and arrest me.
You must be on the East Coast or something, because it's dark there already.
I'm in the Midwest, yeah, in Minnesota.
Yeah, it's 2 hours. It's 9:30 there. All right, then, thank you. And we will catch up with you all then either next month if we have proposals or if we have an agenda or a work session or whatever we can come up with. Otherwise, we'll catch up with you when we catch up with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Good
Have a
night.
good-
Thanks,
Thank you.
Juan.
Thanks, Juan.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan.
Thank you.